Hello everyone, Finkers here with a rant with a review of James Gunn's Superman. DC is kind of my thing, and I've been waiting a long time for this movie, and every fiber of my being really wanting to just love this movie, especially with it being the cinematic beginning of the new rebooted DC universe. I have a mixed opinion and a lot to say, so let's just hop right into it. Honestly, my favorite thing about this movie, despite what some articles have said, was that there was a lack of some kind of political divisive message. I know Disney's Marvel right now is just layering that stuff on thicker and thicker with every new show and movie that they put out. So the fact that they just let this comic book movie be a comic book movie just was a really nice fresh breath of air, and for that alone, even if you wait for streaming, it's definitely worth a watch. Now, moving forward, there will be some spoilers, so if you haven't watched this movie yet and plan on doing so, then you might want to wait till after you've seen it to watch the rest of this video. Now, to me, I don't think anybody will look quite as much like Superman as Henry Cavill did. Nonetheless, David Cornsweet did do a great job and looked the part at portraying this pretty comic book accurate Superman. I really enjoyed that it showed him saving people. That is what Superman is supposed to be. And even in the heat of battle, it showed him super speeding off to go save people from getting crushed by buildings. Even at one point saving a squirrel, which I thought was a really nice touch for a superhero that was famously saved a kitten from being stuck in a tree in the comic books. There were a lot of good characters in the movie, casted excellently. Nathan Fillion did amazing as the cocky Green Lantern, Guy Gardner. But even though I loved his character, I honestly didn't need a full-on Justice Gang in my solo Superman movie that was already overstuffed with characters, and because of that, many of them didn't get the development that they deserved. Nicholas Hoult was great as Lex Luthor. I believe he played the part better than it was wrote, to be honest. He was one of the best things about the flick, but as the movie went on, I just felt he got less and less Lex Luthor-y. Lex is a calm, cool, and collected genius, but as the movie neared its end, he became kind of more of an unhinged, petty madman. And Holt definitely comes off as being intelligent, but for being so smart, the character definitely made some dumbass decisions. For instance, Lex uses Metamorpho, another really cool character, to keep Superman at bay by turning his hand into kryptonite, and he does this by forcing him by holding his very obviously CG'd baby hostage. So you're holding the man's child hostage and you're going to leave him unsupervised with the one being in the universe capable of saving him. Bet you can guess how that turned out. Lex also knows that his portals to his little pocket universe prison are unstable and every single use has this risk. Yet he almost uses it as a toy, even locking up ex-girlfriends, and I really just felt that somebody that was that intelligent of a person would be above such pettiness, especially knowing the high risk involved. One character that really stuck out to me was Skylar Gisando's Jimmy Olsen. Admittedly, I'm just a big fan of Skylar and have been since I first saw him in Santa Carlita Diet, but his Jimmy Olsen is the awkward nerd that gets the girls, and even though I'm not sure quite how believable that was, it was certainly a lot of fun to watch. There were some truly fun action scenes, like Supes picking up one of Lex's men and doing a roll in the air, using him to slam other foes. Though I do feel the funnest of the action scenes we already saw in the previews, and that was whenever Supes does his spinning heat vision blast. Even though I did like a lot of the elements of this film, I also found it to be a bit of a mess. For one thing, it tried way too hard to be funny all the time. Oftentimes that would undercut moments that could have been truly beautiful or emotional. I just think it could have been a lot more heartfelt of a movie if they wouldn't have layered on the not so funny humor quite so thick. Without a doubt, the biggest issue in this movie, like many modern movies, is the storytelling. Superman has a message from his parents in the Fortress of Solitude that is damaged, so he's only ever seen the first part of it. Lex gets his hand on said message and recovers the other half, where his parents tell Superman to roll over Earth and take as many wives as he can to keep the Krypton race alive. Just for this message existing, Lex manages to convince the government to call for Superman's arrest and hand him over to him. Okay, yeah, it looked bad, but Superman had did absolutely nothing wrong, only helping people for years at this point, And he don't even say like, hey, look people, I never even saw that part of the message, to try and verbally defend himself before turning himself in. It really just didn't make a lick of sense. Before watching this movie, months ago, I made a video stating that even though James Gunn is very capable of making a great comic book movie, I just had my fears because they are often buddy team-up movies relying heavily on humor and often featuring at least one animal, and I just wasn't sure that that was a formula that I wanted to see in Superman's first outing. Well, boy did I call that one. There was more than enough actual Superman characters in the movie that I just didn't need all this Justice Gang and all this Crypto the Superdog that I got. It would have been fine to show that even Superman needs help sometimes. But for real, I think that Mr. Terrific got just about as much screen time as Supes did. And to me, he just came off cocky and arrogant, but not in a fun way like Guy Gardner did. Not to mention that he barely gets touched the entire way through the movie. Meanwhile, Supes, the Man of Steel, gets his ass kicked time and time again. Mr. Terrific just seemed all-powerful, and to me it just kind of made him an unrelatable, boring character. Crypto was a bit overused and way over-animated. Yes, he was very cute, and yes, he had some fun scenes, but he was so stereotypically energetic and dog-like that he almost seemed more like a caricature than a real dog. Kind of like Lex by the end of the flick, he was just a bit over the top even for a comic book movie. Speaking of stereotypes, just wow to how they portrayed John and Martha Kent, Superman's adopted parents, as full-on rednecks instead of more grounded, salt-of-the-earth type people. I come from an area full of kind of proud-to-be rednecks, and I couldn't understand half of what Martha said. Anyways, back to the storytelling. The movie just relied way too much on coincidence over a solid story. Things like Lois and Mr. Terrific opening a portal to the Pocket Universe at the exact moment that Supes and Metamorpho just got out of their cell and now needed a way out. And of course, Jimmy Olsen's ex-girlfriend, Eve Tessmacher, is Lex Luthor's current girlfriend, because if not, well, the story couldn't have happened. Eve was a fun character, but her overly constant selfies weren't only unrealistic, they also made Lex look a lot dumber than I'm sure they wanted to. No matter how loyal Lex believed somebody was, he wouldn't have been stupid enough to let his downfall be because he was letting somebody take selfies right in front of his top secret plans and meetings. So I'm torn. I was really excited for this movie and really wanted to love it, but in the end, even though I did like a lot, I was also a bit disappointed. There was a lot of fun characters in action, and I really hope that Ultraman comes back in a future movie as Bizarro. But the lack of a coherent, believable storyline and unrealistic character behavior and actions just kept this movie from being all that it could be. So what do you think? Was James Gunn's Superman all that you had hoped it would be? Or like me, are you slightly worried, but yet still hopeful for things to come in this new DC universe? Please let me know what you think down in the comments, and please leave a thumbs up on the video to support the channel. Thank you so much for watching my video, and we'll see you in the next one.